So I'm like, all right, I got to see a movie. And you know what I see? I saw what most likely will be a Best Picture nominee in Conclave. And oh boy, Dr. O. Oh boy, this movie. Holy twists, holy turns. This movie was off the rails for like a Pope drama about the church movie. I think of Two Popes and how boring of a movie that is. Jonathan Pryce, Anthony Hopkins, much respect, but holy crap, that was a snooze fest. And I wasn't expecting that just based off the trailer. Edward Berger coming off of All Quiet on the Western Front, the score in the trailer. I'm like, all right, you got to pick a new pope. There's got to be some interesting parts, even though it's probably all going to be conversations, right? And it was just completely all conversations throughout the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they made it into a political thriller. And I'll tell you what, man, it was riveting. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. The twists and turns were great. There was the final one. No spoilers. Holy crap, you will never be able to predict it. I don't like it. But other people in my theater, they were like 50-50 on it. I was in a pretty packed theater for a Tuesday night watching it. A full normal digital theater. It was pretty packed. Like every other seat was filled at minimum. But like there were a lot of groans and a lot of like, so very 50-50. I'm on the against it. But other than that, what a movie. Very similar sentiments to the substance that I saw last week that I liked, but the ending was so. This one, I was more against the ending than the substance, but I still respect it. So yes, I love this movie. Not what you expect, stereotypically speaking, and Ralph Fiennes, Best Actor nominee at minimum this year.
It's a lot to drink in, Ricky Flex. I unfortunately could not see the movie with you. I know we have a light checkup, so I mean, you talking about it has me really inspired to go see it. Again, I saw it yesterday.
Oh!
We have a surprise review on TDI. Guess what, Ricky Flex? I have a lot of the same thoughts as you. You don't think I was going to let you see it before this podcast, and me, who actually ranked it in my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year, I wasn't going to get to Conclave? Ricky, I'm an Edward Berger guy. This movie lived up to Edward Berger. In my eyes, watching this, I was like, he went 2 for 2. He's 2 for 2. And he's gone from, obviously, Best International Feature, and now he's potentially going to be an Oscar nominee at the upcoming Oscars for Conclave. I mean, he was already nominated for All Quiet for Best Picture, too. Not, it only won International Feature. So this, Ricky, was great. It was great. And I was like, Ralph Fiennes, this could be his chance to win a Best Actor. I don't think it's going to do that. I think he's really good in it. I think there's a trio of really good performances in this movie. Guy who plays Father Benitez, I thought was unbelievable. Scene stealer. I don't have the actor's name on the tip of my tongue. Stanley Tucci, also very good. I thought this movie, yes, I was like, this is going to be a Best Picture nominee, but I don't think it's going to win because I think the thing that I'm struggling with is some of the decisions that are made with the script, you know? And I know we're not going to go full on spoilers. We could if we want to later on, but I think there are some things where you're getting like a highly political, like Pope needs to find a successor type of thriller. You had to spice it up. This movie did great at spicing it up. Everything was like, I want to say super spicy. It was almost like I looked up the movie on Twitter afterwards. I want to see the memes that come out, and like people are comparing this to like Mean Girls and like certain scenes in Mean Girls. It's like literally gossiping amongst these cardinals and archbishops about like who should be the next pope, who shouldn't be the next pope. Them shit talking each other behind their backs, and there's even parts where this is one thing I'll spoil. I'm like, this movie's not serious sometimes, even though it is serious. Kind of hard to gauge it. There's like a cardinal ripping a vape scene, dude. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And when I saw that, I'm like, that pretty much tells me it's not going to win Best Picture, but I'm still dialed in. And I'm thinking that they made this entirely more enticing and engaging than any other person that would have made a movie about the successor to the Pope.
Right. That's it exactly right there. is that it should not have been entertaining. It should not have been a thriller, but it was. It was.
Yeah.
And do I think this is going to win Best Picture or be in contention? No. But again, weak movie year, a lot of hype came out at the right time. I think it will get nominated. And Ray Fiennes, I don't think he was like, oh my God, like pounding the table. This guy should win best actor. No, but I think he will. Again, weak movie year, and it is a good performance overall.
Ooh.
Looking back on it, he will get nominated, and he could win. And I'm not saying he should win, but he could because it. You know what the Oscars love to do? Giving a guy an Oscar later than he should. And Ray Fiennes is one of those guys. So this might be that role where it's probably not his best role. It's not even his second or third best role. But you know what? It's probably in his top 5, the borderish, and it's good enough in a weak movie year where it's like, all right, the Academy, here you go, Ray Fiennes, you deserved it. Maybe not for this one, but you're going to get it for this one because you can't go back and give an Oscar. So I think that, and my last thing here is that I was actually expecting more from Stanley Tucci. I was expecting him to be a scene stealer like he is in everything, like he is in Spotlight. I love Stanley Tucci, and I liked him a lot in this, but I really wanted him to freaking just be a bat out of hell and just like take the screen from Ray Fiennes a little bit. And he never could to me. He never could. And it's not that it was bad. He was solid, but it was just a solid supporting role. Nothing for the Oscars. So for me, good performances, not great. And I still think this will be in contention at Best Actor and just nominated for Best Picture.
I think Tucci was good. I was expecting the role to be a little more spicy. I expected a little more fire out of him. But really, like the guys who are giving the fiery performances are like the people that are vying for Pope that aren't Stanley Tucci. Those are the guys giving it, and not Ray Fiennes. Ray Fiennes is like this guy who's obviously morally conflicted, having a crisis of faith. He's got to run this conclave and make sure it's organized as all these like high-ranking Catholic officials are coming together and acting like Regina George and company. You know, he has to kind of like organize the chaos. But then Ray Fiennes' character finds himself, maybe he's the Regina George. Like he's asked to do some stuff behind other guys.
It's a good twist.
And like when I say like good performances outside of it, the guy who plays Father Tedesco, Sergio Castellito, he was really good in my eyes. He's the guy ripping the vape. He is the guy who's like the conservative. They make a lot of like political connections, like as if it was like a presidential campaign. You got like the more liberal Stanley Tucci, the Tedesco, who is the conservative. And then you have, I still don't know that guy's name. Ricky.
Carlos Diaz is Benitez.
Yes, Carlos Diaz as
first full feature film was this
He's
movie.
Like the guy running on a campaign of anti-war. I thought his arc was interesting, but I also thought he rose in the ranks a little too fast for my liking. But it still made the movie like, oh wow, look what we're seeing here. A little bit predictable without going into spoilers, but there's other parts that I was just like, you couldn't predict because they were so crazy. Like the fact that like you see it in the trailer, there's a bomb that explodes at the Vatican, and it just happens to happen during a conclave. I'm just like, okay, we're stretching it a little bit. And I found the big twist at the end. I thought it had me like laughing in terms of like, oh my God, you would never think about this type of twist for a movie about the Catholic Church. And I also was laughing because I had people in my theater that were deeply religious. I could tell. It's like a woman in her late 50s going by herself at 3:00 in the afternoon. This person goes to church. And to see the ending this movie takes, it's not going to leave people that are like very, very religious, very, very Catholic based. It's not going to leave them feeling very great about the movie. But I think everybody else, they're like, okay, it says something about the church, the direction it's been with the last couple popes we've had. And I think it's also a little bit Oscar baity with that type of ending, you know? So I did want to say that one. The whole movie didn't really feel like that bait. It felt pure Edward Berger and then some great twists. But the end, I'm just like, that's the type of ending the Oscars might be like. It bodes well for it, I should say.
I agree with that. I just think at the end of the day, this movie should not have been entertaining. But I think Edward Berger put his stamp on this really well. And like I mentioned, I don't think the acting, was anything like it was good all around, but there isn't like one guy that just carried like Ray Fiennes did carry the movies in every single scene of this movie. But like he wasn't just like taking over nonstop, like
No.
ISO mode, one-on-one final shot. Like he wasn't like that at all. So I just think this is like a compliment to Edward Berger. The score was also awesome. It lived up to the trailer hype. And I think the one thing holding it back a little bit was it got a little cute with the script. I did like the twists and turns throughout. Some were on the nose, some weren't. But overall, like it was a good script. Just I think it needed to be carried further to actually have a chance or be in contention at the Oscars rather than just, be sneaking in like the 8, 9, 10 slot in Best Picture nominees.
I was also thinking other comparisons that I was making while I was watching. Ray Fiennes reminded me of Jon Snow. I just could not stop thinking about Jon Snow. Every time I like heard him say, "I don't want to be Pope," I'm like, "I don't want it. I don't want it." And that usually means like you are going to be the person, right? We'll leave it up in the air, and you'll have to go see the movie. But I kept being reminded of that. But I also was reminded a little bit of Benoit Blanc. I like the way he is trying to circumnavigate these eccentric type of characters, these great performances, but he's anchoring the movie down. I think that kind of is what Ray Fiennes is doing here, except Benoit Blanc is way more flashier. But I mean, the Knives Out cast is just they're supposed to be odd, eccentric characters, even bigger than Benoit Blanc. But Ray Fiennes, very good. I don't think he's going to win Best Picture. I think he definitely can get a nomination, meaning Ray Fiennes for Best Actor. This Benitez guy, Carlos Diaz, I think is my I think he is the performer that I would be like, this guy, if anyone's going to get a nomination.
He has the one Oscar scene,
Yes, he has the moment.
He has the ISO one-on-one, the top of the key moment.
Yeah, I really did like that character. Any other thoughts on this movie, Ricky Flix, before we get to scores and then the checkup?
If you want to see a movie this weekend, and I just said like it's a weekend, and you don't want to see here, this is the movie. Like this is the movie to see, and I am not a here guy. I just don't think it's going to be good. So I'm going to put all my chips into the Conclave basket for this weekend.
I couldn't believe when that guy ripped that vape. I almost like looked to my left and right. I'm like, did that priest just rip a vape?
Yeah, I did have the same thoughts. Like, what are we doing? But again, it's 2024. This is present day. Out of 100 plus people, someone's probably ripping a vape.
Yeah, but they're all like 60 plus years old. It's also like crazy to watch. Like these guys haven't achieved their life goals yet. They're like 60 years old. Like they all want to be Pope, but they're 60. Edward Berger is someone I also wanted to discuss just because this guy, I think he has a staple now. When you're going to see an Edward Berger movie, it's going to have incredible cinematography. It's going to have a great score and it's going to drop dramatically in very key moments. I thought the strings that were used, right, the violins and whatever type of instruments were being used, it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. I will do work to this score. I will complete and grade papers to this score. I think that is a lock. Cinematography, I think a lock, right, for Oscar nominations. He's a guy who's getting known for below the line stuff. He's also someone that I think we might see after this movie foray to something a little more commercial. Like he's gone from an international feature. It got that release on Netflix, which was big for him. And then he went to this movie at Focus Features a release and Sony, right? It's Focus Features Sony. And then I think now it's like, could this guy, people have talked about him directing the next Ocean's movie. I would love to see this guy maybe attack Bond. I think
that's a good shout.
Like, I think this guy would bring some gravitas to a franchise that is trying to turn the page from Daniel Craig's 4 or 5 films that he was associated with Bond. I think this guy could start fresh. He could do his own thing. I think it's something appealing for a guy who's probably going to, at the end of the day, at the end of the Oscars next year, he's going to have 2 Best Picture nominees, right? On his first big forays and into well-known like films. I think he could do something with James Bond and like make it his own. And that's something where prestige into IP that is respected.
That's a great shout. Unfortunately, I do think he's doing the Oceans movie.
I don't want him to do that.
And I think that will carry on into probably another trilogy. At worst, he's going to do Oceans, and that's going to be his big IP play. right? So I don't think Bond will be in the cards for him. But I would love to kind of reinvigorate the Bond franchise with Edward Berger, with the cinematography and score. And he
Oh yeah.
attracts, and obviously he would have a huge up and coming actor, whether it's Aaron Taylor Johnson or whatnot. But this guy, even if he doesn't do Bond and he does Ocean's 11, he'll get big stars to do that. But this guy does attract major talent to his movies. And
Mhm.
like Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci here, he is doing another movie called The Ballad of a Small Player, with Colin Farrell in the lead
Damn.
and Tilda Swinton supporting. And
Damn.
this is the movie. And again, this is a much more grounded movie, but like, hear me out. The synopsis: when his past and his debts start to catch up with him, a high stakes gambler laying low in Macau and encounters a kindred spirit who might just hold the key to his salvation. So, interesting premise there. Deeper yet also flashy a little bit with the gambling. We'll see how much it blends together. And Colin Farrell, someone that's very hot in the streets, kind of combining here with Edward Berger, another hot in the streets player or director here. So I think he's going to continue his push into being like one of the main directors or young and up and coming directors going forward in Hollywood.
Yeah, kind of an unorthodox way to break into the scene. Made a great war movie. He's made, even though this movie is set in the Vatican and has a bunch of religious figures, I kind of view it more as a political thriller than I do like a religious movie. Maybe the next movie is like not going to be about a bunch of popes, right? But it's going to have religious themes that are much deeper than what Conclave was. So I'm in on Edward Berger.
My last thing is that, you know how like an actor or director needs to direct an IP to become big or to get anything they want. And I think here is just showing you that you could take the different path, and it's a lot harder path, slimmer, but quality wins.
Yeah.
You make something good, All Quiet on the Western Front. It's like once it's good and like Netflix realized like, holy crap, that's our best movie in 2022. That's going to be our Oscars push because it's that good and better than anything else we had. And then look where Edward Berger is now, maybe doing an Ocean's movie. You're talking about Bond. He's working with Ray Fiennes. Like this guy is now like pushing in it. He just made this remake of All Quiet on the Western Front and put his little twist on it with no name actors, non-English speaking. And look, and he went from that to this. So quality still wins out, even if you can't do like the Bond movie. You can't do a superhero movie directing or acting. Quality wins.
Quality wins. Edward Berger wins. 2 for 2. I'm giving this an 82 out of 100. What do you give it, Rick?
84 for me.
Okay.